It is Friday, July 10th, 2020, and this is the Pro and Con Show, and I am your host, Michael James Ott. Welcome to the show. Again, as always, encouraging people to be better citizens, to take some amount of time. I'm not talking about hundreds of hours a month, but a handful of hours a month to understand the issues, spend some extra time ferreting out the truth, the facts, the factual truth, the who, the what, the where, and the when, and to step back and try to ignore to the greatest degree possible opinion, which is there's 5 different websites that I look at. So Huffington Post, CNN, these are more so-called liberal, left-leaning kinds of things. Over on the other side, there's Breitbart and Fox News. And then in the middle, mostly just reporting the facts, is NPR with very little opinion, and mostly just the who, the what, the where, and the when. So NPR is a great source of information. If you're only going to look at one of these sources of information, I would suggest that you look at NPR. And today's article, or today's show, Black Lives Matter, comes from NPR. I just wanted to show you this picture and this headline. New York City begins painting Black Lives Matter mural in front of Trump Tower. Okay. So, racism and Black Lives Matter. I know there's been a greater awakening of late that there is a factual problem that we have with racism, systemic racism, and it gets to this it's true. Okay, and there are people that believe it isn't true, just like there are people that believe that the earth is flat instead of round. But those people are misguided or misinformed, or just lack the mental capacity, or just choose not to believe the truth. For example, that the earth is not flat, it is round. There's a preponderance of information that says the earth is round. When we observe other planets around our solar system and around in universes using various telescopes and stuff like that, we see all these planetary objects, all these astronomical objects, all being round because they are spinning, and that's what happens to mass in a general place where there is no gravity. It congeals into a round spheroid of some kind, and that's what's happening to the earth. The earth is round. Well, if people say, racism doesn't exist, that's the same thing as saying the earth is flat. And so then they say, okay, well, yeah, okay, so it does exist, but all lives matter. All lives matter. Well, and that is true, of course. Of course it's true. Of course it's true. All lives matter. But the problem is there has been, and it's been going on for decades. And for me, for example, who has had the trifecta of blessings of being a straight, male, Caucasian person, I have been blessed by the fact that I am not homosexual or transsexual or whatever, so therefore, no one had significant bias against me because of my sexual preference. I have been a male, and so therefore I have been afforded typically preferential treatment over women even, okay? Let alone people of color, which is the third thing. I am a Caucasian. And so my life, I know it. I've seen it. I've walked through my life going through security screenings in airports, or I don't know, you just name it. I people have deferred to me and giving me, not all the time, certainly not all the time, but time and time again, they have given me preferential treatment and greater trust than they would if I were a gay black woman, for example. And it's an astounding thing. And for those people who, they just can't bring themselves to conceive it. Listen here. In this picture, there are several, there's a few white people, but there's several people of color, okay, African Americans, and they're painting this mural, and they're making a statement to Mr. Trump. Because why are they doing this in front of Trump Tower? Because they're doing it because he is blatantly trying to ignore that this is true. And so they're putting it in his face, basically. And it's a good thing that they are. But these people that are in this picture, okay, let me show you that again there. These people that are in this picture, I can guarantee you that in my family history, going back through 2 or 3 generations or 4 or whatever generations, you're not going to find a picture of one of my relatives hanging from a rope in a tree. Some of these people, many of them maybe, at some place in their family history have that. And by the way, that person's hanging in the tree not because they did some kind of evil to mankind, only because they happen to have, a different skin tone. And the people around them, they were a significant minority, and the people around them systemically kept them oppressed and abused. And it goes on today. And now the thing is around the police, again, there's example after example after example. Thank God for videos. Thank God for body cams and that kind of stuff, because we're really starting to get this in a place where people cannot deny that it is true. They can no longer deny. Now, of course, there are still some number of people that are in denial, but that's why you paint these huge murals on the street in front of their buildings, because eventually they got to get it. We all have to get it, that this is unfair, blazingly inappropriate, and we need to take steps to fix it. I'm going to say one last thing. I've got a minute or two here. So we've talked in the past about reparations and how do you try to make up for this systemic problem? And the way you make up for it is you try to do a systemic fix. And so I received, not all the time, but periodically, I received some preferential treatment. It would seem like the right answer is that we I don't know, pass legislation, amend the Constitution, but we do something so that people of color people of alternate sexual preference, these kinds of things, they not only are treated equally, but they're, for a period of time, for an extended period of time, they're randomly treated a little better. They're given a little bit of preferential treatment on a basis across their lives over decades. Reparations by preferential treatment over decades. Again, not all the time. And how that would work and the complexities of it, I get it. Very complex. Try to figure it out. But we can do that. We can do that. We can talk about the pros and the cons, the good and the bad, the for and against, what might or might not work and why. And we can get there. Black lives matter. And it's important that we preferentially talk about that for a while. Okay? For the Pro and Con Show, I'm Michael James Ott. Until the next show, bye for now.